Snell, and Andy Katz out there working the room with all the general managers and coaches.
All right, thanks, Ryan. I'm now with Tony Snell, as coach from last season. He was an assistant coach last season. Craig Noodles Neal at New Mexico. Now the head coach at New Mexico as Steve Alford takes over at UCLA. And Craig, Tony now decides to leave New Mexico to come here to the NBA draft. What does he have to prove to make sure he's a first-round draft pick?
Well, I think he's going to show he can shoot it. I think he has to prove that he's willing to play hard, not disappear in games, and show his ball handling skills, because he really can do some great things with the ball. He has a lot of skills that translate to the NBA, so his biggest thing is I just think he's got to get over the hump on how hard he plays.
When you were talking to him before he got here, what kind of advice did you give him?
Well, I just said go be yourself. I mean, he's definitely has the ability to play at this level. I think he's terrific. I think he's definitely a late first-round draft pick. He's got all kinds of skills. He's long. He can run. He's a great kid. And that's the biggest thing that we looked for when I was with Toronto. So I think he's got a great upside, and I think he's going to be an NBA player.
You spent 10 years with the Toronto Raptors. When you were at the draft combines, what were you looking for?
Well, I just looked at guys that, you hear a lot of things about their weaknesses. I'm trying to see if those weaknesses are true, or if they got any strengths that were not seen during the year, and how hard they played, how hard they go through the drills, if anything's awkward for them. So we spent a lot of time on it, so it was big for us.
How would you equate the way things have changed from when you were a player in the NBA trying to make it versus what it is today?
It's a lot different. There's a lot more scrutiny, and there's a lot more things that you go through. We didn't have this combine when I was coming out, so it's a little different.
All right, thanks, Craig.
Anytime, Andy. Thanks, buddy.
Back to you, Ryan.
All right, thanks a lot, Andy. Guys, when I watch Snell, I mean, he just jumps out. He's one of my favorite guys in this draft because he is huge, but a lot of these guys are 6'7" or so. They can't really dribble. Snell looks like he actually could play some two-guard in the NBA. And, Chad, when I look at him, I'd kind of be surprised if he wasn't a first-round draft pick.
And he really caught fire in the Mountain West tournament. That's really where NBA guys started to get excited about it. Also, when he caught fire shooting the basketball. He was unconscious at times for New Mexico during that tournament. Had a huge contingent of NBA guys there watching him, and he's capitalizing on playing really great basketball right at the right time, and now coming into the NBA draft. But if you watch him over the whole season, there are questions, as his coach just said, about that consistent effort. He's streaky as a shooter. When it's going in, anything can go in. When it's not going in, it can get ugly. But you're absolutely right. A lot of NBA teams are intrigued, and he is a potential first-round pick.
Here's the thing, I think, and I was listening to Craig Neal carefully because of his experience in the league. He said he thinks he's a late first-round pick, but he's got to play hard. To me, it's what I saw on videotape. For Tony Snell to maximize his game, we know he can shoot it, and that's a valuable commodity. But when I watched him at New Mexico, he had a low impact on the game on the defensive end. And for a kid this athletic, that should change, and it should change quickly. Because if it does, and again, we're talking maturity here, you got a guy that has one noticeable NBA skill, and that is he can really shoot the rock.
Guys, he reminds me of a player that plays for the San Antonio Spurs and Kawhi Leonard a little bit. He has the same length. If he actually is committed, you can see him being a really good lockdown defender on the perimeter. I mean, Tom, am I wrong here in this comparison?
I'm smiling ear to ear because I wanted to say those exact two things. I'm just at a glance, when you turn and look at this group, we turn, but everybody else is looking, he just leaps out at you as a prototypical NBA body and role. And you're looking for role definition. Wing defender would be tremendous. And Kawhi is the one that comes to mind. I mean, his physical resemblance to Kawhi is part of it. But also just his length, his athleticism. But the flag that goes up is he didn't impose his will on the game. The questions are about that defensive intensity. And can he reinvent himself in transition that way? But in a year where you don't see a lot of plug-in players like this, he's going to leap out and likely rise because of it.
Here's my issue with the Kawhi thing, though.